Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by once again. If you are new here, you are welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notification bell to be notified anytime I upload a new video. So today we are going to be learning how to draft a perfect princess that Bustier. So to my returning subscribers, I say a very big thank you for always coming back to watch my videos, and also thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you. I love you all. God bless you. So without wasting much of your time, let's get on with the tutorial. So to draft this princess Bustier, you may need some tools. And also we'll be needing this measurement to draft the princess Bustier. You need your shoulder to your bust point, your shoulder to your under bust, your shoulder to your waist, and also you need 1 inch for sewing allowance. So from the shoulder to the bust point is 10 inches, and the shoulder to the under bust is 13 inches, the shoulder to the waist is 16 inches, and across your shoulder is 15 inches. So let's get started. So to start with, I draw a horizontal line here on top of the pattern, and it serves as my starting point and also my shoulder line. And I folded the pattern in half. We are starting with the front panel. So I'll be imputing the vertical measurements. So from the shoulder to the bust point, I'm taking 10 inches. So I mark the 10 inches across so that I can get a straight line. I place the tape on the shoulder to the under bust is 13 inches. Then I place the tape again on the shoulder to mark my half length. The half length is 16 inches. So these are my vertical measurements. So I'm adding 1 inch down for the sewing allowance. That's for the hemming. So I will label the lines now. This is my shoulder line. This is the bust point. This is the under bust. This is the waistline. That is the allowance. So to start with, I'm marking half of my shoulder measurements, and the shoulder length is 15 inches divided by 2. You divided your across shoulder by 2, and dividing 15 by 2, I got 7.5 inches. So next I'll be creating the neckline, and I'm using standard neckline. I'm using 3.5 by 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches for the width, and then 3.5 inches for the depth. Coming to the shoulder point here, I'll count down by 1 inch. That's for the shoulder slope. Then I'll connect from this 1 inch to meet the neck point here. So you may ask why we come down 1 inch on the shoulder point. Because our shoulder is not straight. Our shoulder is slant. So if you make it straight, you cannot get any shoulder that is straight. So we just have to slant it. That's why you come down by 1 inch. And on this shoulder slant, I will go up by half an inch. This half an inch is for the shoulder joining. So next, I'll be connecting the neck point. So I'll be going down here 3.5 inches too. I'll create my round neck with this curved ruler. So this is our neck. That's for the front. And on this 1 inch shoulder slope, I'll be marking the armhole depth. And the armhole depth I'm using is 7.5 inches. And I'll connect it with a straight line. So from this point, I'll connect the line this way. That now serves as my chest line. I'll label it chest line. So the next thing to do is to create the armhole curve. And to get a perfect armhole curve, you have to impute the bust circumference. And the bust circumference I'm using is 36 inches. You divide the 36 inches by 4 and I come out with 9 inches. And then 2.5 inch for ease. So to create the armhole curve, I'll find the midpoint from this 1 inch line, not on the allowance, from this 1 inch. I'll measure what I have here, 7.5, and I'll divide it by 2. You can fold the tape rule like this. The midpoint for my armhole depth is 3.75. And from this 3.75, I'll be coming in by half an inch. That's for the front armhole. You come in by half an inch, then you connect it. So this is it. Hope everything is clear. Next, we'll be creating the princess line or the princess dart. To do that, you need your nipple to nipple measurement. That's your bust span. And the bust span I'm using is 7 inches. Divided by 2 is 3.5 inches. So note here, 3.5 inches on the bust point. I'm adding half an inch. So 3.5 plus half an inch is 4 inches. Coming to the under bust, these 4 inches that you have here, you minus half an inch. Then you place the 3.5 inches under the bust. I hope you get me right. The 4 inches I put on the bust point here, the bust point, I'm minusing half an inch from inside, and then I'm placing the 3.5 inch under the bust. And on the waistline, I will place 3.5 inches again. So to create the armhole princess dart, you measure this round armhole and then find the midpoint. So let me do that. It's 9 inches, so the midpoint is 4.5 inches. So this 4.5 inches, you are going to connect it straight to the bust point here. You are connecting it with a curved line to meet the bust point here. Next, you are going to connect this point with a straight ruler under the bust and the waistline with a straight ruler, like so. Then you connect this point to meet the under bust. You see the princess line is formed. Now we'll create the bust cup. To create the bust cup, I'm working on a medium sized person. Under the bust here, I'll be marking 2 inches. And then on the waistline, I take 2 inches. So the next thing to do is to connect this point like so with a straight line. Let me explain something to you guys. Because I'm sewing for a medium sized person, I marked 2 inches for the bust, the under bust tightening, and 2 inches for the waist. When you have a bigger bust, from 36 to 41 inches, you mark 2 inches for the bust tightening. That's for the cap, the bustier. But if you are working on a bigger bust, like 42 upwards, you can add 2.5 inches here and then 2.5 inches here. And if you are working for a smaller person, a small size, you mark 1.5 inch here, 1.5 inch here. So the next thing, before connecting this to the bust point, I'll be coming down by 1 inch from the bust points. Then I'll connect from here with a curve to meet this line. Hope you understand how far we've gone. So now to create the armhole princess darts, I'll be taking 0.75 on each side of the dart line. If it's for smaller person, you take half an inch on each side. If it's for big busts, you take 1 inch from each side. But I'm taking 0.75 on each side for the armhole darts. So I'll take 0.75 the 0.75 down. So before connecting it to the bust point, you go up by 1 inch here also. So when we come down 1 inch and then we go up by 1 inch, is to create a room to accommodate the bust that you are working on. So now I'm going to connect from this point to meet the 1 inch here, and also connect from here to meet the 1 inch here. You see the bust is created. So the next thing we are going to be doing is whatever you take here, that's 0.75, 0.75 is 1.5 inches. So you extend this down that leg, you extend it 1.5 inches. Why we extend this 1.5 inch is because this 1.5 inch we took for the dart, if you don't replace it here, when joining the cap, the princess dart, when joining it, there will be shortage of fabric here on the down part. The down part will not be equal to the up line here. So you just have to extend it. What you take here, you replace it here. And then coming to the bust side, the 1.5 I took here, I have to replace it here too. So I'll replace 1.5 inch here. So here you round the cap. So the next thing to do now is to impute the horizontal measurements by dividing each measurement by 4. Dividing the bust by 4, the under bust by 4, and then the waistline by 4 inches. So we've already imputed the bust measurement. Now we are going to the under bust, and the under bust circumference is 34 inches. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. I'll be placing 8.5 inches here, plus 2 inches I took for the dart is 10.5 inches. Coming down to the waistline, the waist circumference is 28 inches, divided by 4 is 7 inches, plus 2 inches is 9 inches. So the next thing to do is to add your side seam allowance. I'm adding 2 inches for the bust, and I'm adding 3 inches for the waist. Next, I'll be connecting the line straight. The next thing is to connect the darts to the hemline. And also, there's one explanation. If you don't add half an inch for the shoulder joining, after you finish joining your pieces, you see that the bust will change position. It will go up, it will deform the bust shape here. So all the time, whenever you cut, add your half an inch for the sewing allowance. So I'm done with the front, so I'll get my scissors and cut it out. I cut the center front. So one thing I forgot, sorry about that, by extending the dart leg by 1.5 inch, you have to recreate the new armhole, right? So this is the new armhole. You see, our princess dart bustier is from very simple and very easy to cut. We are going to be cutting the back panel now, and after cutting the back panel, I'll be giving you some tips for how to sew it. Let's go on with the back panel. So now, to draft the back panel, I have my paper folded in two, and I've already drew a line here on top of the pattern paper, which is a guide for my measurements. It also serves as the shoulder line. So I also marked 2 inches here for the zipper allowance. To start with, I place my tape on the shoulder and mark the bust points. That's the nipple points, 10 inches. This back panel, I'm not going to create the normal dart I'm going to create a princess dart for the back. You can go ahead and create the normal dart for the back, or you create the princess dart. So from the shoulder to the underbust, 13 inches, and shoulder to the half length is 16 inches. And I'm going to mark 1 inch for the sewing allowance. Now I'll be imputing half of the shoulder measurement. The shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2, 7.5 inches. And I'm creating the neck width. I'm taking 3.5 inches. 1.5 inches for the neck depth. That's for the back. In the front panel, we took 3.5 inches for the neck width and then 3.5 inches for the neck depth. But for the back, we take 3.5 inches for the width and then 1.5 inches for the depth. So I'm going to connect. So before I create this neckline, I will be going down 1 inch on the shoulder point. You have to go down by 1 inch because our shoulder is not straight, it's slanted. And I'll connect the 1 inch to the neck point here. So I'm going to create the neck. So from this 1 inch shoulder slope, I'll be coming down 7.5 inch for the armhole depth. From this point, I'll be drawing a straight line, which is now our chest point or our chest line. So I'll be labeling the lines: the shoulder line, the bust point, the under bust, this is the waistline, and this is the allowance. Let me explain something to you guys here. To get your armhole depth, you measure around your armhole and divide it by 2. Whatever you get is your armhole depth. Or there's some formulas that you can use. You can divide your bust circumference by 6.28, and whatever you get, you add 1.5 inch. That's for your armhole depth. So on this line, I'll be finding the midpoint to create the armhole curve for the back. So it's 7.5, the midpoint is 3.75. At the back, you don't come in by 1/2 inch. You just create the armhole straight. To get a perfect armhole curve, you'll be imputing your bust measurements. And to do that, you'll be dividing your bust circumference by 4. And the bust circumference I'm working on is 36 inches. 36 divided by 4 is 9 inches. So I place 9 inches on the bust line here. And then 0.25 is, I will create the armhole curve with my curve ruler. So the next thing is to create the princess line. And in order to do that, you need your bust span. Bust span is nipple to nipple measurement. So the nipple to nipple measurement I'm using is 3.5 inches. That's 7 divided by 2 plus 1/2 inch for joining allowance. Coming to the under bust, the 4 inches you mark here, you minus 1/2 inch. So you place 3.5 inches here, and also you place 3.5 inches on the waistline. The next thing to do is to create the armhole princess dart here, and to do that, you measure what you have here. I have 8.5. You divide it by 2. That's 4.2. You mark the 4.2 here. The back princess dart, if you mark the princess line from here, it doesn't look so nice. So you go up by 1.5 inches. So from this 1.5 inches, you connect the line straight to meet the bust point. And then you connect these 2 points here. And the next thing to do is to, you extend this line by 1 inch. why you extend it by 1 inch, so that after joining the princess line, there will be no shortage of fabric on this point. These two here, you don't need to take ½ inch here, ½ inch here, because when you cut it and sewing on the fabric, by joining here, ½ inch here, ½ inch here, you already got your dart at the back. So next is to impute the horizontal measurements. So we already impute the bust measurements. So what we are going to do now is to add the sewing allowance, that is 2 inches. Next, we'll be taking the under bust circumference, which is 34 inches divided by 4 is 8.5, plus 2 inches sewing allowance. The waist circumference is 28 inches divided by 4 is 7 inches, plus 3 inches seam allowance. The next thing to do is to connect the points from the bust to the under bust to the waist and then to the hemline. So this is the back panel. It's very simple and easy. So what I'll be doing now with this 1 inch extension is to create the new armhole for the back. So this is the back new armhole. So the next thing to do is to cut it out. If you want to know how to remove the zipper bulge, I have a tutorial on my channel. You can go and check it out. I'll be leaving the link down the description box and also in the comment section. So don't forget to add the ½ inch for the shoulder joining. We cut out the darts. So guys, I want to explain something here. You know, when you are measuring a person, you see that the shoulder to the waist at the back is shorter than the shoulder to waist in front. So this front panel, when you finish joining, you see that the side will come like this, the side will bend like this. After joining the darts, you see that your down part will not be straight, it will bend like this. So to correct that, on the front panel, I'll be trimming off 0.6 off from the side when you finish joining your fabric, everything. Mostly I used to have problem with that, but this method I start using for long helps me to correct it. Or sometimes after joining it, you can choose to trim it after joining it, but it's good to trim it before you join it. You'll be taking this 0.6 here to this end. So I'm going to trim this one out. This is one tip I'm giving you. And also, when cutting it on the fabric, I've already added ½ inch on this side. You add ½ inch also here for the sewing allowance. On the side, I added sewing allowance already. So this is for the front. And because the back is shorter than the front, I'm going to eliminate this allowance. Eliminating this 1 inch allowance helps the back to relax without even removing the zipper bulging here. So this is another tip. So I'm going to cut this 1 inch off. So this is it for the back. When joining it, you see that this one will align with this exactly, but without extending it 1 inch, you see that you have shortage of fabric here when joining it on the down part. So we have come to the end of our video. I'll be using this fabric for illustration in my next video, so don't miss out, because I'll be padding this fabric and illustrate for you how to join the front bustier and then the princess dart at the back. So guys, if you find this tutorial helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share to your family and friends, and also don't forget to on your notifications to be updated anytime I upload a new video. So see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.